Welcome to the Rotary Membership Action Plan Session 19. The survey says, giving advice on surveying your members to transform your club and make it irresistible. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the host of our webinar tonight, our Rotary Coordinator from Zone 34, Mike Dara. Mike, take it away, sir.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you all for joining us. Tonight, we're going to show you how to use a survey to build a club that your members love. Rotary is built on its members. They are the core of virtually everything we do in our clubs. So how do we convince them that our leadership is aligned with what they, the members, want? And how do we convince the club when we need to change? Tonight, we'll hear from two very different clubs. One is the 18-member E-Club of the Carolinas. The other is the 78-member Orlando Club. Both clubs faced challenges over the past few years and realized they needed to listen to their members, then create the change that their members needed. They asked me to briefly show you the survey tool that they used. It's built into the Membership Success Center. For those of you who have not used the Success Center, we're putting instructions in chat so you can get to it through DACDB. That's dacdb.com. All presidents, secretaries, and membership chairs in our zone should now have access using DACDB, even if your district uses Club Runner. This slide shows the landing page of the Success Center. The link to the survey is on the left of the page under the list of reports. It will lead you through the process to set up a survey and get the results. The survey itself takes about 6 minutes, so most members won't find it very time-consuming. There are two parts. First, the multiple choice section asks questions about some of the core functions of your Rotary Club, as you see here. The second part asks your members to tell you what's great about your club. Those are strengths you want to build on. What's going right? It's important that you share that with your club. Then the survey asks for things that are not going real well, stuff that probably needs to change. And the final question asks about the biggest change each person wants. Both our speakers found these three write-in comments the most valuable part, since it drove most of the changes that they made. Now that you've got an idea of what the tool is, let's hear from the folks that are putting it to good use. Candace Wyman is the current president of the Rotary E-Club of the Carolinas. Candace first joined Rotary in 1994 in Arizona and has been a charter member of two other clubs in Tennessee and South Carolina. She's been a member of the E-Club of the Carolinas since early 2022 when the club realized it probably needed to make some changes. They needed the input of their members before moving forward. So, Candace, tell us about what you faced and what you're doing about it.
Mike, thank you very much for that introduction, and it's really wonderful to be with everybody today to share our story. Our club is about 11 years old, and originally we had quite a diverse international component to our membership. We had members in India and Uganda and France and Italy and Costa Rica, but as e-clubs grew around the world, and we currently have, I think, almost 300 here and there, our membership started to concentrate more back into the Carolinas. And along with that transition, we started asking ourselves, okay, what are we doing that does it meet the needs of our current demographic of members and is it attractive to potential members? We had a split schedule for several years of meeting first and third Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern time and second and fourth at noon, and everybody was starting to get very confused. So that was one of the main reasons we actually launched the survey, but we found a lot of other great information out of it. But the meeting time was the primary concern or point of discussion that people wanted to pursue. So that is the why. And one other why was, with all these 300 e-clubs around the world, what makes us unique, and why are we different, or why should we be attractive to people who are seeking a more virtual environment? So the process. we conducted the survey online with a pretty short turnaround, 2 weeks. We emphasized clearly that it was anonymous. And I think truly that is one of the strengths of the survey, because people can just put it out there, whatever it is, and nobody knows who said what. So we did identify the most commonly mentioned issue, which was our meeting times. And so as a result of that, we did follow up with a separate targeted survey using the Google Forms platform. And what was interesting there was in the initial member satisfaction survey, we got a little over 50% participation. When we targeted a question, we got 90% of people who were very interested in this topic. And as a result, we will be changing our meeting times to all noon on Tuesdays starting April 2nd, not April 1st, April 2nd. We still had a number of outcomes from the survey that we wanted to know more about, particularly the questions 7, 8, and 9 that Mike referenced earlier. They're narrative responses, so people can put there whatever they want. So we used a club assembly to dig into those further. We had breakout groups so that people could focus on one of the questions and got some really good feedback as a result. So the takeaways. Actually, we got an affirmation of all the things we do right, which is always lovely to hear. The fellowship, the flexible approach we have to service projects, our flexibility in meeting times and engagement, and our use of district grants is very effective. We are a very generous club, I'll be honest, in part because we're not paying for meals. So our members are able to really contribute very generously to the Rotary Foundation and Polio Plus and CART. It's one of our hallmarks, actually. But we also heard what we needed to work on, and some of the things were not easy to hear. And so if you or when you conduct the survey, do be prepared for people to be honest with you. We need more personalized follow-up with new members. That became clear, especially hearing from some of our newer members. And instead of having meetings every week, some people just wanted some unstructured or structured time, but just fellowship without a meeting program, so we could just be together more. One of the strengths, I thought, was the short turnaround between member engagement in the survey and then follow-up board action, demonstrating that the board really is listening to the members. And actually, it has helped us also identify our target membership audience, which isn't necessarily that young professional who's just moved into a community and wants to get to know fellow business professionals or other folks in that geographic area. We have found former Rotarians who have left traditional clubs for whatever reason, travel, personal reasons, convenience. And we're finding our approach to be quite attractive to them. So that's what we did with our survey, and I highly recommend that you run it every 2 or 3 years, because your membership changes or things change within your club that people may want to comment on. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Candace. I really like the way you've faced the need for change and that you've involved your members to make sure the changes actually work. Our next speaker is Rich Ungaro from the Rotary Club of Orlando. Rich is a 15-year Rotarian, and 10 of those years he's been club secretary. He's been a past president of the Orlando Club, a past district membership chair, and is currently the assistant governor for District 6980, which is around Orlando. Rich, tell us what your club faced and what you did about it.
Thank you, Mike. Well, for those of you that may not be familiar with older clubs, my club is 104 years old. We have 5 members in our club that have 50 years with our club, and 4 of those 5 have perfect attendance. So this is not a club that's ever going to win the Gumby Award for flexibility. But I will tell you that in 2022, we ended the year with 95. The reason I show you this graph is because it shows what affected all of us, and that is COVID. And in COVID, the first year of COVID, we actually went up in membership. But the second year we dropped. And the reason we dropped is because we were in a building that we had been having our meetings in for 45 years. And when we came out of COVID, they sold the building. So we had to find a new place to go downtown in Orlando. So we dropped down to 99. But then in the next year, we were at 95. So we were at 95 active members. But then we decided in June or in April or May, I guess it was, but we presented to everybody that we wanted to stop allocating our fundraising dollars to help cover the costs of running the club or the club operation. So we put the prepaid meals, we put that into the dues. And when we did that, we lost 36 active members. So we went down to 68 active members in June of 2023. We just at the same time, I attended this MAP seminar that we're all on right now. And that was the night that they talked about the survey, which was perfect for me because I was exactly, the timing couldn't have been better for my club. So we decided the survey. Why do the survey? Well, I think I did immediately went after to try to find out. What I loved about the survey was it was anonymous. And so I went on and I decided to use Pmail, which is through DAC. And the reason I did that is I wanted all of my 68 active members to get a personalized email from me telling them this was totally anonymous and it wasn't, they didn't see anybody else copy it. It was a personal thing to them. I told them there's only 9 questions and I want you to answer them honestly and get back to me to do that. I gave them a couple of days and then I sent out another email to them because I think my response at that point was around 50%. And I told them the deadline is 7 days. And so I gave them to the end of the week. We ended up getting 75% response rate. I'm also an area governor. And so what I did is I created a 4-minute how-to video on how to do this. And I sent it out to all 41 clubs in District 6980. Only because I wanted everybody to get on this thing because the more we get on it, the better feedback. Getting feedback from our members is always great, especially when it's tangible emails and input. And the feedback is always, whether it's good or bad, it's the best thing you can have is to have them be able to. When you go onto the Maps software, as Mike was showing us earlier, there is a button under surveys. If you click on surveys, you'll see the bar where you can then get the recap. And you'll see that when you get into DAC, there's a right under surveys, you get to the blue dot, and there's a blue button there. You hit the blue button, and it will give you a document called the recipe for effective survey. And when you do that, it tells you everything you need to do. So what I did is because my club uses Club Runner, we don't use DAC. I went into Club Runner. I got the barcode. I got the link. I went into Club Runner and created the email, sent it out to everybody, and it was a phenomenal response. We got all the feedback back. So, like I said, I had 75% of my club responded, and after they did that, we collected everything. Our membership committee pulled together all the results, and we tabulated them. And on my next slide, you'll see what we did with the questions that we had. There's an example to question number 1, but I presented all 9 questions or 7 questions. I'm sorry, 1 through 6. I presented in that format because those were just wanted them to see where it was. And like I say, we celebrated the results of this survey. We presented it to the board with a series of recommendations. The board took some of the recommendations. The board made other recommendations. And so then from there, we had results. We had a team, or we had a, what do you call it, club assembly. We presented our members the plan of action of what we were going to do. And we developed and analyzed and showed them the plan of action. And the plan of action is really simple. First of all, we said that our goal was to have 10 guests every week in our club visit. And we give them feedback every week because 10 guests a week will allow the club to make enough impact that if somebody comes as a guest, we want them to be able at the meeting to say, I'd really like to belong to this club. And it's a very celebratory meeting. But anyway, we introduce each guest. They stand up. We introduce the member who invited them. We sing a song. We give them a welcome. And then we, at the end of the meeting, after it's over, we send them a thank you email. In our club, by the way, we also adopted a procedure where the president-elect, the day they become president-elect, they are automatically the membership chair of our club. The reason, because there's nothing that impacts a presidential term than members. And so if you become the president nominee, you become the co-chair of the membership chair. So our focus with the president-elect and the president nominee is membership chair, the membership committee. Then what we did is we distributed to all of our club members the role of a sponsor, because a lot of times our people believe that once their member gets inducted, that their role of a sponsor is really done. And that's really when it begins. So we gave them the role of a sponsor so that they knew how to onboard all of the people that they brought in to to date. I can tell you we're really pleased with what we did with the survey and the results we got out of it. So far, we've added 14 new active members in our club, and those were presented to us by 10 separate sponsors. So it's really been everybody jumped in. And we have also 9 applications that are in process. And of those 9 applications, we've got 5 unique sponsors to those 9 people too. So we got a pretty good chance now of being able to have over 20 or more new members this year. But I can tell you it all happened with the survey. The survey was phenomenal for our club, great information, and we took it and we ran with it, and we are delighted that we did. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Rich. 75% response rate. And that personalized approach, the repeating it back to them, getting back to them a second time, that got great feedback for you. And it's really good to see how you looked at the problem as a way to engage your members and then to come up with a plan and get the whole team pulling in the same direction. And I admire your results. So here are our takeaways on surveys. First, understand what your members want by listening to them. The survey helps the members see the need for change, and they appreciate being heard. Second, very important, have a diverse group analyze the results and suggest actions. If you have different factions in your club, choose someone from each group. They need to be part of the process so they feel it's fair. And remember, you must present the results and the recommended changes to your club. It's best when done jointly by the board and the present and future presidents. So now it's time to hear from you. What questions do you have? Audley Knight has been a member of our MAP team since it began and is going to serve as our Q&A moderator tonight. So Audley, over to you.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate that. And it's really just excellent information. But you said something earlier, Mike, about clubs that do not use DAC-DB. Can you also share with us real quick how to access DAC-DB and access the Membership Success Center if you're not a DAC-DB club?
Sure. And I'll ask somebody to put in earlier a link to an explanation of how to get the Membership Success Center on your DAC-DB account. First off, when you go to dacdb.com, you go in, and I pulled it up here. It says, forgot or reset password. Use as your identity your email address that you use for Rotary, and then go in to reset your password. It'll send you something to your email account and allow you to get in. And then follow the instructions that we just put into chat for you, and it'll show you how to get this. So it's just on there on your district tab. Once again, you'll see it in the instructions, and you can easily click on it and jump right to it. Once you click on it, it's about, 2 seconds, and you're right there, and you can choose the survey function.
Okay, thanks very much, Mike. First question we're looking at is for Rich. You mentioned having this survey and then you sent it out. How long did you leave the survey open for? What was the time frame?
The survey was only open for 7 days, and we did it on purpose because I wanted a sense of urgency and I wanted them to respond. Those that didn't respond, I went to them individually. And I remember I sent a couple emails out to somebody and said, "Are you out there?" Because I didn't get anything from them. But I did get a terrific response at the end. And like I say, questions 7, 8, and 9, that's the most valuable part of the survey.
Well, I'm coming back to that one, but Candice, this one is for you. How did the club handle members who resisted the change and resisted that change in meeting time?
I'm really glad you asked that question because that really was the power of the follow-up targeted questionnaire about the meeting time. Since it was on Google Forms, the participants were aware that it was not anonymous. And so you could see who, the way I set it up, it was not anonymous. I guess you could have made it anonymous, but I chose not to. So I knew how people had voted. And when I saw that the vast majority of the members wanted to go a certain way, two of the people whose responses surprised me a little bit, who are on our board, I went back to them and we had a little Zoom chat one morning, and the ultimate result was, well, they could really live with either one. So it was really heartening to see they wanted the club to succeed. And when they saw that the majority were going a certain way, they were fine with supporting where the group was going.
Oh, that's excellent. A question just came in for Rich. Your president-elect automatically becomes the membership chair. You said someone else becomes a, a part of that membership committee. Who was that person?
The president nominee and the president-elect. And those are the two people that are on the membership committee. They lead the membership committee. Also on the membership committee is the immediate past president and other people that have a passion for membership that want to be on the membership committee. So it's a pretty diverse group of people, but it's a great way to really get in there. And they also make members feel welcome. They help the sponsors and things like that.
Okay. This one I like, and this is for both of you, Candice and Rich. I'm going to go ask Candice first. What was the most surprising response that you received? So, Rich, that one is for you as well.
I guess the most surprising, it shouldn't have been a surprise, but the passion that all of our members had for the club to succeed and to keep moving forward and to not be stuck in the ways we had always been doing things. And that was really heartening to see the passion and the honesty, because everybody's committed to making it work.
Rich?
Well, we had so many different things, but one of the things was they wanted to know more about the new members. They wanted to know a little bit more about who they were, what they did, and so on. But also, they wanted to know, how do I bring a guest? How do I do that? So we actually had a session where we taught them how to bring a guest. And a lot of times we found out that they were hesitant to bring a guest because they were afraid the club wouldn't like their guest, and they were afraid that their guest wouldn't like the club. So
Wow.
that's where we came up with a celebratory thing of making them stand up, sing a song to them, shake their hand. So at the end, the guests at the end always told the person that invited them, "I love this club." You know, they felt welcome.
A follow-up question for you, Rich. Um, Coming in again, can you provide like the list of roles for the sponsors? Because you mentioned that when you spoke before.
Oh, sure. It's really like if you're in a job and your first day at work, someone gets responsible for showing you around, and that's what we want them to do. Um, but we want them to introduce people, like if they're a real estate person, to introduce them to the other real estate people or people that they feel might be able to help their business. We are really big on Rotarians doing business with Rotarians in our club. So we really try to take new members and introduce them to people that we think might be helpful for them to know.
Oh, excellent. This question is from Mike. Can the survey be modified to include questions that are more specifically geared towards a particular club? If not, what other options do clubs have to send a specific club survey?
So I'll answer that in three ways. First, no, it's not modifiable. We wanted to make something that was simple for people to use, and we realized we kind of went with the Apple model, which is make it simple and intuitive. You click on the thing, you get the link, you can send it out, and then you can get the results. You can send something out yourself through something like SurveyMonkey or through, as Candace mentioned, through a Google Sheets platform, but you have to have people capable of doing that. And we felt strongly that the anonymity was really important. Rich mentioned that he was able to tell who opened an email, but he couldn't see who had actually made the comments in the survey. And what we have found in the past is if they know you're reading it, then they give you everything is peaches and cream and butterflies. But when they can just tell you what it is, they're very constructive, but they do tell you what is really kind of getting them the burr under the saddle. So I mentioned three things so you can make your own. And the third is you can use exactly what Candace did. Use the survey and then do a follow-up on the hot button issue that's identified. And on that, you can either do anonymous or as Candace did, she really wanted to know who it was, and she was able to check back afterwards with those two people who didn't they didn't choose the one item as their first option. And I thought that was brilliant. And as she said, the people were happy with it.
And just as a follow-up for Rich, how important do you think it is to have the survey done anonymously? And I'll swing that, ask that question to Candice as well. So, Rich, what are your
Oh,
thoughts?
I think that's one of the most important features of it. Initially, I was concerned because you couldn't change it. But when I went to the 41 club, when I went to the clubs in my district, we have some clubs that are smaller clubs. And I've tried to show particularly the clubs that I work with, the 7 clubs that I work with, I tried to show them that they could also just print out the QR code, have it on the table, and they could all at the meeting take their phones and take the survey right there at the meeting. So it was simple. I will tell you though that the input or the feedback of questions 7, 8, and 9, particularly number 9, which is the one thing you'd change about your club, was so valuable. It was fantastic to watch the reaction of the board, get that visceral feedback from people of what they would change, and it was a real eye opener for everybody to do.
Well, Candice, your thoughts? Anonymous or not?
The anonymity, I think, really does help people to be very candid, and but it also is a tool. For example, I found out that at least a couple people were concerned that the club seemed to be overemphasizing a particular area of focus or two and neglecting several others. And clearly, a number of the people in the club seemed to like the types of service that we're doing, but there was enough concern that it prompted me to look at different ways of diversifying how much, which areas of focus we addressed. So that's an example of, it was anonymous, but on the other hand, when you get 2 or 3 different responses with a similar theme, then it's important to look at it. And I don't know that those folks would have, because our service projects in those other areas of focus have been very popular and we've had them on social media and all of that, I don't know if they would have felt as comfortable saying that if it had not been anonymous.
Well, that's excellent. Rich, another one for you. You stated, I think, questions 7, 8, and 9. Those were open-ended questions. Can you share what those questions were?
Sure. Question 7 was give me the top 3 things that are the most enjoyable or worthwhile from your club. And question 8 was give me the bottom 3 things or the top least enjoyable things. And then the 9th question was, what's the one thing that you would change about your club?
Wow.
And that was a zinger for us. I mean, because it was only one thing, and it was there. It was visceral, and there was no way to hide it. And it was awesome. It really was.
I
Initially, I will tell you, I really thought the 9 questions being able to be changed was a detriment, but it turned out to be a tremendous asset to not change it.
Excellent. And just a quick follow-up again, just before we move over to Mike again, we're going to ask another question for Mike. Just in a synopsis or a quick, big picture, what do you think were the key takeaways? Candice, I'll ask you first. Key takeaways that came from the survey that was like this one major action item that came out of the survey. And Michael, Rich, I'll ask you that after as well. So Candice?
The most important follow-up for us, membership is always top of mind for all of us, is who are we and who are we reaching out to? And we really had not had a clear vision for who that was. And as a result of a lot of district level support, frankly, we've been able to reach out to all of the, well, appropriately to the members, Rotarians who have left Rotary clubs in our district over the last 2 years. And we've actually gotten some very encouraging responses. I won't say that we've added a member yet, but we have at least 5 or 6 really good prospects that I am very confident will be with us by the end of the year. So we found that seems to be our niche. And I don't know that if we had not had this conversation, whether we would have come to the same path.
Get you. So getting information out from the members was super helpful. Rich, over to you as well.
I would say the two things that surprised us was our members didn't really know who the committees were and who were the contacts in the committees. So we post that now. When you walk into our meeting, we got a slide going up at the front as soon as you walk in the meeting before it starts. It has all the committees on there for them to do. And that surprised us that they wanted to know that. The other thing they wanted to know was, tell me a little bit more about how can I get suggestions into what I'd like to see us do and that sort of things, and then a directory of all of the members, what do they do and whatever. And so we gave everybody on their phone the ability to get all the membership, all the contact information on the membership, and so on. And it's really easy to do. But it's communication. That's really what they wanted. They just didn't feel we were communicating with them. We thought we were, but when you ask them, you really find out. I mean, a lot of times they're going to tell you what you don't want to hear, and that's really the benefit of the survey is you got to know that.
Especially if it's done anonymously,
Yep.
based on the feedback you're sharing. I had a question for Mike, but it appears it may have been answered in the chat, which was, where do you find the survey in the Membership Success Center? But I think it was actually answered, but Mike?
Yeah, that was on the first slide we had. When you go to the Membership Success Center on the landing page, there are a list of reports that you can create for yourself and click on them. They're very quick. They tell you, for example, how are you progressing toward there you go. How are you progressing toward your goal this year? Have you set a goal? But you go down on the left-hand side, and as you can see, it's circled surveys. You click on that, and as Rich said, you click on it, and it leads you through how do you do the survey, how do you want to send it out, whether it's a link or, as Rich used, a QR code, and off you go. Now the challenge is to go out to them once and let them know you really want to hear from them, and then go out to them a second time. Normally, the second time, you pick up another 30 to 40%. And as Rich said, when he got 75%, that's getting to be a pretty good and representative group to be able to base some good decisions on.
Oh, man. Again, it's just really excellent information, and we're really running out of time, so we may have to just wrap up real quickly. But thank you, both of you. Thanks again to Mike and our panelists for making themselves available. This webinar on the Q&A segment. And if any of our participants had a question that was not answered, we will share the panelists' contact information and addresses or email addresses in the chat so you could follow up afterwards as well. So thanks again for both of you, Candice, Rich, and Mike. And now I'll turn over the proceedings to our MAP team member, Andy Van Hook, for any final announcements and reminders. Thanks again, everyone. And Andy, over to you.
Thanks, Audley. Our MAP action item for March is 3 steps. First, run a club survey, present the results and recommendations to your club, and develop a plan by July 1st. A valid survey will have been carried out and actioned between January 1st of 2023 and July 1st of 2024. Report your club's completion of these action items in the link that was just placed in the chat. If you have questions regarding the awards program, please put them in the chat box. And now for a few upcoming webinars. Join us for an insightful session on unleashing the power of your club's website. You don't need to be web designer to benefit from this webinar. Discover how to boost impact, attract visitors, and stay relevant. This is at the Elevate Rotary Zones 3334.org website. You can go there and register now for that event, which is on Tuesday, March the 26th at 6 p.m. And the Rotary year isn't over yet. We've got to run through the tape to come out ahead. Join the next MAP webinar to learn 3 key late year membership strategies so you can finish strong. Monday, April the 15th at 6 p.m. And we will see you then. Thanks for joining us this month, and we'll see you on Monday, April the 15th, so you can learn how to finish your year strong.